Our next guest is coming into our studio from a port in Perth, Australia. That's right, Rear Admiral Christopher Grady, Notre Dame alum, is coming to us live from the deck of the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier. Welcome to the show, Rear Admiral. It's an honor to have you with us tonight.
Thanks, Jack, and we're talking to you from the war room of the Carl Vinson. We just dropped the hook here in Perth after 6 months of delivering nearly 600,000 pounds of justice on the head of the evil that is ISIS. So we're really glad to be here with you after having served the nation admirably. Still got some work to do, but we're glad to be with you today.
Well, and we are all thankful that you and your crew are out there defending American interests and fighting evil all around the world. Now, I know you are not the only domer on that huge aircraft carrier. You have some fellow domers with you, I understand?
I do. I'm joined today by Lieutenant Kristen Ayala. Maybe you can see it here. She is a Navy industrial hygienist here serving the 5,300 sailors that are on board Carl Vinson. And I'm also here with Lieutenant Tom Fagan. Tom is a naval flight officer who flies the E-2C Hawkeye and did great work in that fight against ISIS that I just described.
Now, Admiral, how did you end up at Notre Dame?
Going into the Navy was probably not an option for me. It's been the family business for a long time. In fact, one of Tom's classmates is my son Nick, who is also class of 12 and graduated from NROTC with him. Nick's fifth generation, and I'm fourth. So I had my Naval Academy appointment. I had my NROTC scholarship to Notre Dame. And when it came down to it, what I wanted was a little bit of the Notre Dame exceptionalism that comes from an academic program as great as you can get at ND. I was also a varsity fencer, and the opportunity to fence with legendary Coach Mike Tachiko was something that weighed very heavily in my mind in making that ultimate decision.
Mike Tachiko, certainly a Notre Dame legend. You, of course, graduated from Notre Dame, and I looked at your resume. We don't have time to talk about all the tremendous responsibility and positions you've held in the Navy, and you are now in command of Carrier Strike Group 1. How many personnel, how many ships are under your command right now?
Sure. Carrier Strike Group 1 is about 10,000 people. It includes Carrier Air Wing 17, which is 9 squadrons of airplanes. It includes the flagship Carl Vinson, from which we are broadcasting today. It includes 2 air defense cruisers and 8 destroyers. We deployed with a subset of those, so there's about 6,000 of those folks here with us. The rest are back in San Diego preparing for their own deployment.
Can you give us a little bit of a window into what it's like to have the kind of responsibility that you have? Well,
it's a daunting challenge, but one that I relish because I've been very, very well trained. That started with my time as a NROTC midshipman at Notre Dame, and it also that training began with all the larger thinking that I did at ND, both as a history major, but just ethically in terms of learning how to do the right thing. I've been doing this job for 32 years. It's the most rewarding thing that I have ever done. And to say that we've been able to deliver over 500,000 pounds of ordnance and justice in our last campaign has meant the world to me. Just as importantly, however, though, is bringing everybody home safely. And now that we've exited theater, I know we still have about a month and a half's worth of work to do as we work through the Western Pacific. But I'm delighted to say that that pressure of bringing everybody home safely out of harm's way is one that I don't have to deal with anymore. Flying is a dangerous business. We've got a lot of flying left to do, but so there it is.
Where is the home port for the Vinson?
San Diego.
So when will you be there? About 6 weeks, I think? You said you have about a month of work left to do?
Yeah, that's right. We deployed the 22nd of August, and we get back the 4th of June, so it's nearly 10-month deployment.
Can you tell me a little bit what it's like to command the fine men and women that you do? I know one of the great pleasures of my job, because of the terrific ROTC program that Notre Dame does have that you've already touched on, is I get to meet not only some of your fellow graduates, but many of the young men and women who are in your command. We had Navy SEALs on campus last fall, and I just admire them so much. They really are the best and brightest of our country.
Yes, sir. That's very, very true. I would tell you, again, over 32 years, this is the finest cadre of young men and women, the products of our high schools, of our community colleges, and our great universities like Notre Dame that I have ever seen. They keep you on your toes. They ask all the right questions. They are fully and totally committed. As you know, this is an all-volunteer force, and so they're all here inspired by the mission. If I could, I would tell you that if you look at 100 graduating high school seniors in college and you take away those that have various issues, we're down to about 25% of those that we can recruit into the Navy, and those are the same folks that industry and college go after. So, again, it is the most highly trained, motivated, and dedicated group of individuals that I've worked with in my 32-year career.
Admiral, as we wrap this up, I have to ask you, what is the week of the Notre Dame Navy football game like for you and your fellow Domers when you're serving on an aircraft carrier?
Well, I would tell you that anybody who's worked for me or with me knows that Navy, that Notre Dame football is an interesting time for my staff. I start worrying on Wednesday, and if we lose, I'm disconsolate till Tuesday. So they pray for the season to be over. Now, Navy is a special week. It's not as important to those of us here as Michigan was, but Navy is a special week because they're still clinging to the reality that perhaps they can compete with us on the field. And so we hear about it quite regularly, day in and day out, as we lead up to the game. It's an honor to play Navy, no doubt about it, and I'm glad that we continue to do that, but there is a lot of good-natured rivalry that goes on. My goal was to go my entire career without losing to Navy. Of course, that ended after some 24 years in 2007, but we started another streak, and I know that 9 times out of 10, we're going to beat Navy as long as there's no things like chop blocks and cut blocks and things like that, which we all complain about. I'm sure Coach Van Gorder's got all this figured out, though.
I think he does. Admiral, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for what you do. And please let every member of your crew, Notre Dame grad or not, know how much everybody at Notre Dame appreciates what they do to protect America all around the world.
We'll do that, and go Irish.
Thank you, Admiral.